We're back. Hey, Chip.
Hi.
This is actually a topic that I think you might want to discuss today versus last week when you bailed on all of us. How did you feel about that?
Well, I went directly to the library and did a lot of research on vaginas and orgasms in women. I'm kidding.
Well, obviously,
I
because you
mean,
said
it's
you went to
like,
the library as if you wouldn't just Google it.
oh my God, I'm showing my age.
I'm
I
like, do
just
you
mentioned
even?
going to the library.
I
Like,
know.
there's one
Well,
down the street from me, and I've never been. I've lived in this house for 10 years.
and to my point, that's why I knew
Yeah.
you were funny.
Every time I drive by it, though, I'm like, I should go to that library. Like,
Interesting.
it
Huh.
feels like it's a relic. Like, I'm kind of shocked that there are still
I
libraries.
know.
I'm
I
glad that
actually
there
used to
are because
love
I
a
think
library.
yeah, I mean, they're great places, especially for kids and community and things like that. So, I feel like I should support it. Plus, I buy so many books that I never read. Like,
To
they just
donate
stack
them,
up
maybe.
so I could donate them, but, like, my point is I waste money when if there's a book that I really wanna read, I should just go to the
Oh,
fucking library and check it out.
yeah.
Yeah.
True, give it a go.
I mean, this is a little gross to think about, but my cousin once said she doesn't like to go to the library because she's like, "Who knows if the person that checked out that book before you was, like, pooping while reading?" And I was
Well, I
like,
think that probably happens a
it's a really
lot.
good point,
For
yeah.
sure, we don't know where those books go.
Yeah.
You know what else I gotta figure out? On our Zoom, and I know there's a way to do this, but it blocks out background noise. So sometimes when you're laughing really hard, which I obviously want everyone to know how hard you're laughing at something.
It thinks some background
Well,
noise?
it just thinks your background noise and it cuts you out. So I only hear the first little bit of it, and I don't think the listeners know that you're even laughing. It's just like
Oh, no,
silent.
that's like my signature sound.
I know. So we gotta work on that. We'll have that figured out for you guys next week.
If anybody listening works at Zoom and can help
I
us or
know how to
knows
do it. I just
Oh,
haven't
okay,
done it. It's in
okay,
settings.
yeah.
And I keep forgetting to do it. No, my producer told me to do it a while back. So anyway,
Okay,
sorry
cool.
guys, missed it. But anyway, we'll have that up next week. This week on the podcast, I taught this was a really interesting conversation to me, and he and I got a little more maybe like spiritual than analytical in this conversation, and so we may have to just have him back because the work that he does is absolutely fascinating. His name is Dr. Todd, and he has been a physician for so many years, like just the normal type of doctor diagnosing all of the time, and he realized he was having these patients come in and he was like, I knew they were sick, they knew they were sick,
Right.
but everything on their panels or their blood tests or whatever was coming back clear. So I had to figure out, how do I read somebody's body more than what these kind of scientific tests that I'm doing are going to tell me? And so he really studied like Ayurvedic stuff, and then Chinese medicine, a lot of like TCM stuff, traditional Chinese medicine. And he came across all of these findings of how you can read people's faces. Like they can tell you, you're if looking at your face, if you're certified in this kind of thing or you know about it, people can look at like the fine lines you have, the dark circles under your eyes, where it's concave, if your eyes are uneven. Like he was even telling me stuff about like above my eye, one eye was more swollen than another, and what that meant. Like it's tied to the gallbladder, which is tied to anger. There's all these fascinating things of it. And obviously, in our society too, we really work to stay young in our face. So we try to like
Uh-huh.
cover up all these things. And really, in some ways, we're like covering up the map to what's happening to us on the inside. So we just had a really interesting conversation about all of that kind of stuff. And yeah, I kind of wanted to just break that down more with you, and just what is your take? Like, do you believe that you can read people's faces like that?
Well, I mean, I mean, when you hear it, I would have never thought about it, I guess is the way to phrase it. Like, I would have never thought that you could do that. But
Hmm.
when you think about like our body as a machine, like in order for it to work properly, like it all has to work together, right?
Right.
Whether it's like you're completely healthy or there's a cancer in your body or whatever sort of illness, like there must be a way that like your body I mean, there we know scientifically that your body tries to fight these things.
Hmm.
So if there's an abnormality, it must affect something, like it's kinda like if you're holding a really heavy bag with your hand or if you have your arm up for an hour, like you're gonna get tired because it's your body's trying to compensate. So it makes sense. I just never it would have never occurred to me that
Right.
that was a thing, you know? Like,
Totally. Well,
it's
and
wild.
it is
It's
wild,
all
but it
interconnected too, you know?
of
It's like
course, like,
when you
how
think about Chinese medicine and stuff, like the points on the bottom of your feet that affect your
mhm.
liver or your heart or your head or your mouth or whatever it is, like, it's really interesting that people, actually have the wherewithal and the knowledge to, like, even go and study that and figure it out.
Oh, I
It's
think it's
pretty impressive.
fascinating. Yeah, I would love to study something like that. But I think
Yeah.
about how many times you've maybe seen someone from high school or something, and you'll either say, wow, they've really aged well, or wow, they really haven't. But so often, the people that you're saying like haven't aged well, isn't it typically about what they're doing to their bodies on the inside? Like maybe they're a bit heavy drinkers or they
Right.
don't eat well, they don't exercise. So all of the, like, the big red puffy face that we might see and it's just go, "Oh, well, someone didn't age well." Well, it's like, well, actually, there's probably a lot happening inside their body, like, internally. Inflammation, like, he actually talked about the red face and what it
Mhm.
was communicating. It's just like a heat, and it's coming from inside, literally from inflammation. And I just find all of that so fascinating because you know my big thing about our society, like, I do believe in Western medicine. I'm never sitting here trying to be like, "Don't go to the doctor." I'm definitely not like that. I also really think that our society skips a lot when it comes to why we are sick, like, we just
Right.
throw a pill at the
It's a
symptom.
Band-Aid, yeah.
Yeah, and then we never change what we're doing or what caused it or even look at what caused it because we might continue that behavior and then the medicine's just like subsiding the symptom, but it's not really actually making you healthy. And I don't like that. Like I want us our bodies are machines, like you said, but
Mhm.
when they're not working properly, I mean, when your health goes, it's like everything goes.
Yeah.
That's it. So it's a fascinating topic to me. I myself would love to see a physician like this that looked at me and did all the panels of Western medicine, but also looked at my face and was like, "Hey, there's something going on here. We need to look
Right.
into your liver, your gallbladder, your heart, your lungs, whatever it is, because that's what he does. That's what it can communicate." So the other fun thing is like he'll get on social media and he'll read like celebrities.
Mm,
Like he just did Bruce Willis, who has really bad dementia. And he kind
mhm.
of broke down like what was happening on his face that would signify all that stuff. Because it's just interesting because like we're never getting the real story about celebrities, right? So he goes in and he, like, reads their face, and he's like, "They may have this, or they may struggle here, or they may be really great in this area." He did, like, Bianca Censori,
Uh-huh.
Kanye West girl, and he was like, "She's gonna struggle a lot young, like where she is now, but she'll probably really thrive later in life based on something on her face." I was like, "What?"
And that's not yeah, that's more esoteric too. That's not like, "She looks like she's got cancer," like,
No, but it can be like,
it's an
he
emotional
reads
read, yeah.
right, but he reads based on like, he would brought up in my reading, childhood trauma stuff. He's like, "You probably struggled with instability in your childhood," and I did, and, like, my parents have both been on the podcast, we've talked about that because it's different now, but, like, that was interesting for me. I'm like, "Where are you reading that on my face?" Like,
Right, yeah. Did
that
he
is
give you those details?
yeah. He, like,
Okay.
breaks it down very much. So
That's interesting. I'm gonna have to listen. I
yeah,
haven't listened yet.
it's really interesting. I don't know if he talked about I'll just send you my chart, but or my reading or whatever. But, yeah, it was really interesting, and I just wondered, like, what other things like, I just feel like in our world, there's probably all these subtleties we're not paying attention to that are really telling us everything. Like, the older I've gotten, the more I've been through, I just notice things, and you and I have been talking about this a lot. Like, once you see stuff, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
But we are all kind of walking around in the dark so often that I don't think we realize all of the things that we're missing. So, like, when
Mhm.
I brought this topic to you, for instance, you said, "Oh, that's like the dogs when they can sniff out cancer." And I was like, "What?" So, like, tell
Yeah.
me about this.
So, I've heard about this. I did a little research today. There's a pretty extensive list of things that dogs are capable of smelling.
Okay.
I'll
So,
just
this is
rattle
via smell. So, they're not
via
reading
smell.
your face.
So, dogs have like, they will inhale like up to 300 times a minute. So they're constantly it's weird too because they can also separate between their left and right nose and they inhale from like the right in the center, and then exhale through the side. It's all one hole though, but they have a lot of control over it.
Okay.
And I think the stat that I read, this was years ago, is like they can smell 7,000 times better than we can. So
Wow.
the smallest little change, they'll notice in you. The list of things that dogs can smell is actually pretty extensive.
Okay.
Studies have shown that they can smell breast cancer, prostate cancer, lung cancer, melanoma, and colorectal cancer. They can smell infectious diseases like malaria, tuberculosis, urinary tract infections, COVID-19. They can smell in diabetics when your blood sugar is going to get low, and if you're about to faint, they can alert you. They can let you know if you're about to have a seizure. They're trained for narcoleptics to let narcoleptics know if they're about to fall asleep. They can smell stress. They can smell fear. They can smell heart and kidney disease. It's pretty
What do
unbelievable. I
they
mean,
do
I've
when they sense this in a person, though?
well, the ones that are there are ones that are that are specifically trained, especially if you have someone who has diabetes. They might have like um, what do they call it? It's not an emotional support dog. It's a medical support
Yeah.
dog.
Yeah.
Um, or someone that's got narcolepsy or something like that or has seizures. They're trained to alert you if they smell it. They can be trained to alert others. Like there can be a button that they're taught to push that will call 911.
That is
Um,
wild.
I saw a video not that long ago where a woman she was having a low blood sugar thing and her like security camera in her house caught it and the dog went behind her
Oh,
and
I've seen that.
basically she was at the sink and caught her so that he could lay her down as she fainted.
Yeah. Yeah.
They also sometimes won't even know. Like, I've read stories about dogs detecting cancer in their owners, and it's just they're smelling something different, and they are
Mhm.
hyper focused on like an area of your body. And so, I think it's an important thing to note because if your dog does start acting weird like that around you and seems like hyper focused on a piece of your body, then maybe it's a sign to at least like go get checked out because
Yeah.
they could be giving you a sign that saves your life without them even knowing it. Like, I don't think they're inherent to be like, "Hey, yo, you got cancer." They're just like they
Right.
smell a change.
Yeah, I
Um
think that's what when we were talking about this earlier, I was thinking about we were at a friend's house this weekend and all those dogs were there and our friend
Mhm,
Steph was like, "Oh my god, Kelly," because they always all flock to me, and
mhm.
I was gonna say to you, I mean, I hope they're not all trying to tell me I'm sick. Oh my god, because I always read that it was like dogs are like babies where there's a certain type of energy that they just or like if you have a certain like peaceful energy or whatever, they just go to you.
Yeah.
And dogs have done this my whole life, so I'm assuming
Well,
this could be
but
just
you
sick.
also I think that there might be I know that you don't have a fear of dogs, you just don't, like, want them all over you. So I wonder if there is a stress hormone that, like, you're not even aware when you're like, "Oh, fuck, here come the dogs, they're gonna get all over me," and they smell that
Maybe.
stress hormone and it attracts them. Yeah, here's the stat. Dogs have 220 million scent receptors, and humans only have 5 million.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I mean, it
So,
is, but it
they can smell
isn't.
10,000 times better than we can.
But that's they probably need that for survival, like, that's part
Yeah.
of their own survival. Because if you were a wild dog or, like, I would imagine all animals have more
Mhm.
heightened senses. Also, it's not that I don't like dogs.
And I know, I said it's not that you don't like them, you just don't like them all over you.
Well, it's not that even, it's when they're chaotic, like, if a
Yeah.
chill dog wants to snuggle, I'm all about it all
Mhm.
day. I don't like they were fighting under my feet, for instance, and I'm like, "Okay." Like,
They were my
it
dogs
does
too. For the record, my dogs are involved in this, like, dog pile.
yeah, and there was, like, 5 dogs or something at the house, and it was just it's the chaos. It's
Yeah,
that
it's
my nervous
chaos.
system can't handle the chaos of,
And
like
I think they probably smell that, and
maybe.
there's an
So then they come
attraction
to
to
me
it.
and try to
Yeah.
snuggle, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay, well, we can
Just like
snuggle."
fear, I know that they do smell fear, so it's like it probably that change, they don't know that it's fear, they recognize it as change, and I think it, like, makes them curious.
But how do you explain Steph's dog, Brunello, on July 4th would only come he just would lay was laying on my lap because he's usually typically so scared of fireworks, and he slept through the whole fireworks show, and Steph was like, "What is happening?" I was like, "Dude, I don't know.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
I don't know.
Maybe I'm a dog whisperer and I don't
Maybe
even
you are old
know."
Caesar Milan-esque.
Well, anyway, I think that is an interesting thing. It's obviously different than face reading. It's like it's not looking at something and it's not a human that can communicate to you what that means. But it is interesting to think about heightened senses in general and them communicating to us like just as like a whole, understanding how wild bodies and like species of different creatures, like a dog, having all those heightened senses for survival. Sometimes my mind gets so blown thinking about all of that, and the fact that we don't look at that is what
Right.
bothers me. Like,
Yeah.
at least in traditional Chinese medicine, they're like, "Okay, let's figure out how the body works and why it isn't working," not just like, "Oh, there's a symptom of you're having a racing heart. Here's a pill that'll slow it down."
That'll slow it down. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I mean, it's, probably that's probably partly due to this our system, like, it's like a churn and burn business,
Yeah.
whereas in a lot of other developed nations, they have, social health where it's n you don't have to pay for these kinds of things, and it's like there's benefits on both sides because people would argue that the care that you get in America is often better.
Mhm.
But it's comes at a cost, whereas in other countries you have to wait and it's harder and that you have less specialists or whatever. But I think that's probably it. Like they want to get you in and out as quickly as they can so they can bill your insurance.
Yeah.
So rather than really figuring out what's at the root of it, they just want to fix the symptoms. I've got another like non dog example. A friend of mine was diagnosed with something, and I think this is really interesting because it is a nonverbal sort of thing, and it was something that was really scary because it was defying her doctor's scientific knowledge. She was having seizures and she couldn't figure out why. And they it coincided. She's a musician who hadn't been practicing music in a long time. She had done
Mhm.
it 20 some years ago. It was a thing of her past. She's moved on, is in a completely different life and has a different business. She's an entrepreneur and a designer. And she and a friend got together because they were like, her friend is a songwriter and was like, "Girl, you need to write music again. Like people would love to hear from you." And after she wrote the first song, she had a seizure. And she went to her doctor and they were trying to figure out what it was, and none of the tests were indicating anything about epilepsy. And he recommended her to a specialist who was a therapist who focuses on a thing called psychogenic non-epileptic seizures, PNES. And they're episodes that resemble seizures, but they're not caused by abnormal brain activity. They're instead they stem from psychological things like stress,
Trauma.
emotional issues, and trauma. And ultimately what she figured out was there was trauma in her life from back when she was doing music that her
Mhm.
body associated with music. So when she
Mhm.
reintroduced music to her body, there was a physical response.
Mhm.
And now she's got it under control. Like there are still things that can trigger it. So, but she's not on epilepsy medicine because she doesn't have epilepsy. And a lot of times
Right.
people with PNES are, they're diagnosed with epilepsy,
And
then
it's just
given the
not.
pills,
Mhm.
and it makes their seizures worse. And
Mhm.
then, like, if their doctor doesn't know about PNES, there is no hope, like, they're
Totally.
causing the problem now with the medicine, but it's wild because it is this unseen thing, and, maybe she would have never experienced it had she not started exploring music again, and it could have been something that just stayed dormant in her life, but the therapist helped her work through by writing and trauma therapy to sort of get the seizures at bay.
It's wild, and I mean, I'm so glad you brought that topic up just in general because I feel like so many this is another thing I get upset about, like, I don't feel like as many people that are diagnosed with ADHD actually have ADHD. Like, sorry,
Right,
our society is not that full of people walking around with ADHD.
right.
However, if you learn more about trauma, so many symptoms of repressed trauma that's stuck in our body show up like ADHD symptoms. So if
Yeah,
we're not digging deeper or really trying to unpack what happened, the reality, how to retrain our bodies, like you said, like with somatic kind of work, we're just going to get thrown a pill and it's not going to help ultimately. That's the thing. It's like, sure, everything might help temporarily, but if you get put on Adderall and it only ebbs and flows when it works for you, you probably don't have ADHD, you probably have trauma
Or it could also make it worse. It could create anxiety because
or
you don't
that.
feel like yourself or
Sure.
you don't know what's going on with your body, all those things, yeah.
Yeah, but so I just like that conversation even exists of looking at the ties. Like, I think mental health and physical health need to be way more connected in our medical system.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of, like, energy type workers slash medical, even medical mediums or things like that, that I've started to discover in our society, and I think that kind of work is gonna just keep becoming more and more prevalent because we've overextended in the way of just treating this symptom, and I think everyone is getting a little more curious and cautious about that now that we're learning more about the medical system, and this is not, again, to say that all of the medical system is
Yeah,
bad. I
medicine
definitely don't.
works.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it
don't
works.
think that at all. So, but that's a really interesting conversation, and I also was thinking, like, you know how you always say to me, you're like, "How did you know that?" Like, we'll be at the same dinner, and we'll leave, and you're like, "Well, that was so fun," and I'm like, "Yeah, but did you see what was wrong with so and so?" And you're like, "What?"
Right.
But I think I'm reading energy, but I think I'm also reading facial cues, and I don't
Mhm.
really realize I'm doing it a lot. So I think there's an emotional component to the face reading that can happen more too, and maybe women are more in tune, or I don't know, my personality type or whatever, but, like, I can't I never am sitting in a room and think that what's happening at face value is really the thing that's
Right,
happening. I
right.
don't. Like, that's why I get so exhausted by social situations so often, is because 'cause I'm absorbing all of the unsaid things all the time too, and
In
there's a
some ways,
lot.
it's like to me, that sounds exhausting, but it
It
also
is.
sounds fascinating too, because, it is really easy to go through life and just take things at face value, and that's fair. I feel like probably most people do,
Yeah.
because we also want to just believe what we're being told. Like,
Well, it
why
feels
not?
way better.
It's like,
Yeah.
but it is pretty interesting. I worry that if I had that ability, I wouldn't believe a thing anybody is saying at all, and I would walk around and be a conspiracy theorist. Like, so I'm kind of glad that I'm like ignorance is bliss in my world.
Well, just as much as you can read when people aren't telling the truth, you can read when people are.
That
So
is
it's
true.
like
Yeah.
there is so much. That's why I'm such a big advocate for you all the time of, like, what I think like, I just know where your heart is off so
Right.
often
Right.
on things, and even if that's not fully communicated or you're not being that open about it, I can sense it. So,
Mhm.
I think it can go in positive ways too, is my point.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, but it is weird 'cause I'll often, like, I'll know something in my body, but, like, either nobody's talking about it or even that person isn't aware of it. And then it takes, like, weeks or sometimes months for it to come to a head, and then it'll come to a head, and I'm like, "I fucking knew that. That's so
Yeah.
weird." But yeah, so anyway, that's one other thing. Would you want to walk around in a society where we could, like, either read people's faces or look at someone and know what they were thinking, like, almost telepathic? Is that what that is?
Um.
Is that telepathic? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my knee jerk is I would want to say yes.
Okay, tell me more.
Because it's like you just want I like I'm a believer in the truth, so it would be nice, like wouldn't it be nice to know if someone didn't like you and you were like trying to be friends with them and they're or like trying to date them and they just weren't interested and you just knew and you could just move on, like,
I
but
guess.
I'm
I'm just
also
like, I know
like,
too
I
many
don't
people that don't
know,
like
ignorance
me.
is bliss too, like
Yeah,
there there is there is something nice about because you have to remember if you're able to do that, someone else is probably able to do it. And there is beauty in having your autonomy and anonymity and your own secrets and things like that. And I'm not
yeah.
that I carry a bunch of dark secrets around, but I don't know. I just wouldn't want everyone to be able to like know everything about me.
That's such a double Scorpio answer. You're like, "No, where's the mystery?" As you were just talking about that and saying, "I don't want people to know what's happening in my brain," I thought to myself, "Isn't that what transparency in relationships is, though?" Like, shouldn't we be aiming to just speak the truth versus figure out something else to say? other than the truth, to sugarcoat it, to paint it in a different whatever. Wouldn't that be the point of
Yeah,
human
totally. Yeah.
evolution?
But I'm also thinking, like, if you were walking down the street and you're mad at me and some random
Yeah.
person's like, "What did Chip do?"
Yeah,
And you're
who's
like,
Chip?
"Who the fuck are you?" Like, that would be weird.
It would be weird, but what if I was just like, "Well, that fucker, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah,"
I mean, I guess it would, like,
and
make
then
the
we found
world kind of a
connection
funny,
and
interesting thing,
well,
especially if you could turn it on or turn it off. Like, if you were just like, "I need to get where I'm going. I'm turning it off. I don't wanna hear the world right now."
but then you would sometimes you
But
really
then you're,
turn it
like,
on.
on the train in New York City, and you're like, "Turn that shit on. I need to know
Well,
what's in that
no, see,
motherfucker's
that's so
head."
weird. That's why I hate crowds now is because the more in touch with my own intuition I've gotten, the more overwhelming it is to be around multiple people because I think that is, like, somewhat happening to me. So, yeah, in large crowds, it just can get really overwhelming, and so I can't imagine if we had that skill set that we would want it on when we left the house very often. Unless you were doing, like, a very intense meeting for work and you just wanted to read, but you have to it's like the rule seems like it would have to be if you turned yours on to read other people's, yours would have to be on too for them to read you. It would just change the way our society was. I'm
R
serious. Like, are
Yeah,
we
I mean, if
creating
you
something here?
it's yeah, maybe we need to, like, figure out how to, like they just announced the new AirPod Pros
Okay.
have live translation. I don't know if our listeners are Apple users or not, but it's pretty fucking fascinating because I have some that do that, but this is, like, next level.
Translating, like, if I was
If
reading
you were
a book
speaking
in Spanish.
Spanish to me, it would, I'd hear it in English in my
No.
AirPods. And then if I speak back, I hold the phone up and, I'm speaking in English, but it writes it in Spanish to you so you can see it. But if we're both wearing AirPod Pros sitting at a coffee table and I'm in Spain and meet a person, they can speak in Spanish, I hear it in English, I speak in English, and they hear it in Spanish.
That is wild.
Yeah, so now there's no, like, you know
Language barrier,
well,
really.
you can't talk shit about people in your native language, like, in the grocery store, be like, "That girl's got a nice
Right?
ass," because you might have your translator AirPods in, so
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is wild. So we
yeah.
just need to create the one for emotions and reading people's minds, basically, not the words
Right,
they're saying.
right.
Okay.
So maybe that's in a glasses form, you know?
Like a
Like
meta glasses
yeah,
type
like my Meta
thing.
glasses.
Okay.
Be like, "Ooh, stay away from Kelly, she's having a bad day." It, like, whispers it in my ear.
It's like in I look on the outside like I'm so happy, but inside I'm crying.
Right.
So that's what it communicates to you. We'll work on that, and if we figure it out, I'm pretty sure we probably won't do this podcast anymore, so you guys won't be hearing from us. I'll be on my private island,
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
hiding from everyone reading my mind.
Yeah, yeah, and from hearing what everyone's thinking.
Yeah, exactly, it's exhausting. If you guys have ideas like that, please send them to the edge at velvetsedge.com. Or what do y'all think? Do you want people to read your face or your brain or all these different subtleties I think are so interesting to talk about how we're actually taking them in. It's like the body language expert Adrienne Carter that was on a couple weeks ago, and she talked about we're constantly communicating with each other and we just don't even realize it with our body language. So it's
Yeah.
just interesting that all of these factors of the different ways we're communicating with each other are coming to the surface right now. I feel like it's a conversation we're supposed to be having. So
Yeah.
let us know what you guys think. It's theedge at velvetsedge.com. You can also reach out to me on Instagram. I'm at Velvet's Edge. Chip.
I met Chip Dorsch. It's ChipDorsch.
We're also on Instagram at Velvet's Edge Podcast and on TikTok at Velvet's Edge and on YouTube at Velvet's Edge. I've got to just put this in the description of the podcast. I'm like a running just blah, 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 blah.
Blah. It's about repetition,
Oh,
though.
it sure is. And if you guys please go like and subscribe to this podcast so it gets pushed out to everyone else and they can share with us and join with us in all this connecting that we're doing
Mhm.
every week using words. Wait till we don't have to. It's
Yeah,
going to be
wait till we
awesome.
just have to look at you and know that you listen to our podcast.
Exactly. And as you guys go into the weekend and you're living on the edge, I hope you always remember to
Act casual.
bye.
Bye.